Good morning. I'd like to call to order recess meeting of June 11th, 2025. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Beck, Commissioner Chauncey, Commissioner Graham,
Here.
Commissioner Helton, Dr. Highlander, Dr. Mackey, Dr. Mackey, Commissioner Sharp, Commissioner Shipley, Commissioner Smith, Chairman Eversole.
Here. Invocation and pledge to be conducted by Commissioner Baker. So all please rise.
Morning. Pleasure to have Jason Gaddis here, Senior Pastor of First Centenary United Methodist Church.
Good morning. Let us pray. Most holy and gracious God, we give you thanks for the gift and the blessings of this day you've given us and for the opportunity we have to be here in this place. May your blessings be upon this commission as they make decisions that are worthy for you, worthy of the citizens of this community. We ask these things through your Son, Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. Madam Clerk, I am showing one item on the recess agenda. Is that correct?
Correct, 625-7.
Without objection, this is that same Zoll data systems that we're waiting on the Baker Donaldson report. I spoke with Joe Connor with Baker Donaldson this week. They're not ready and not going to be ready for a couple more weeks. So without objection, can we move this for 30 days?
Yes, sir.
You have a date specific?
Yeah, let me
We
get you a
put it
date.
on recessed.
Recess meeting of July the 9th.
Okay. Mr. Graham, Commissioner Graham?
It's not that I object, but I have a question.
Okay.
Can I ask Lee a question?
Sure.
Lee, we keep moving this out, Is this becoming a detriment, or is this okay to move it out? Or, I mean, I'm concerned. It's been a pretty good while that this has been reoccurring on our agenda and we keep moving it. Is this going to affect the way we do business?
It is not optimal, of course, but we have been in touch with the vendor. The vendor understands the situation we're in, and right now we're just in a holding pattern. But of course, we would prefer to have this considered and hopefully approved as soon as possible.
That's all my question. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So we will move this to the July the 9th
Recess
recess
meeting.
meeting. Okay. All right. No other items? We will adjourn the recess meeting, go to agenda session. So roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Beck,
Here.
Commissioner Chauncey,
Here.
Commissioner Graham,
Here.
Commissioner Helton, Dr. Highlander.
Yes.
Dr. Mackey,
Here.
Commissioner Sharp,
I'm here.
Commissioner Shipley,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Chairman Eversole.
Here. We have one presentation today, and it's for the Plan Hamilton Area 9 team. So Don Johnson and Greg, come up. You have 10 minutes, and
Right. Thank you. All right, I'm Don Johnson. I live at 7708 Diamond Head Drive in Ottawa. It's about one block off of Snow Hill Road. And I'm here today to represent a citizens committee that we've been given the opportunity to rewrite the Area 9 Plan Hamilton. There are five, as you know, there are 5 different plans. We are planning for the Area 9, and we're not going to talk about those other plans, but we're going to kind of run through. We're a little concerned that not everybody understands the process we followed. So the first thing we did was we started to complain. We didn't like the way the original plan was, and unfortunately, when you complain, sometimes you get the opportunity to help fix it. So we did. So we were given the opportunity to go ahead and rewrite the plan. The original plan had a very high density, multi-story commercial centers, and it lost the rural character that the citizens really wanted. So the citizens group was formed, and it was based on a strong feeling of the fact that we were getting an urbanization in the county, and a lot of people didn't like that. So our team was tasked to rewrite the plan. We spent about 6 months rewriting it. The new plan included low-density housing, single-story commercial, and attempted to retain the rural character. Once we got the plans completed, we realized that we certainly did need enough support from the county commission, and not all the commissioners will probably support our plan, so we decided to compromise. We compromised by working with some commissioners and some county employees and the home builders. And we ended up coming up with a compromise that we felt would be able to give everybody something, and we wouldn't end up with a plan that would be unacceptable to any one group. So let me quickly go over the key elements. The compromise plan retained the A1 zoning, which is 2 houses per acre. It allowed for some 2.5 house per acre in very specific areas, particularly around existing sewers. It allowed for some suburban residential to have 5 houses an acre, and it allowed single-story commercial. We did not have any apartments. We did get some screening to help in the aesthetics around new developments, and we tried to stop building in floodplains. One of the things we did do is we did settle in on every 6 months of going ahead and letting the amendments to the plan. The purpose of the plan is to document the vision in the community. The vision doesn't change frequently, hopefully. Frequent plan changes kind of undermine the public participation, and it places an extra burden on the planning agencies. So we ended up settling in on wanting to go ahead and not revise the plan on a highly frequent basis. And we ended up, one of the things that came of this compromise plan is we apparently didn't meet everybody's needs, so there have been a series of amendments placed out there for the plan. So now we're going to have Greg go ahead and talk about a few issues.
Good morning, Greg Lewis, 5555 Hunter Road. On this slide, we went out and tried to do some benchmarking just to see what other counties do as far as their rural areas and the densities they allow. Each of the counties uses different terminology, so when you start looking at one county, you may not find A1 and R1 and those kind of terms. So we tried to find the equivalent type things. And as you can see on there, right now Hamilton County allows 2 houses an acre in our A1 zoning. And as you see, what's listed over there on the right are the top 10 fastest growing counties in Tennessee per the Census Bureau. And as you can see, most of them are substantially less than that. As we went through their plans and their documents, we saw they're struggling with infrastructure as much as anybody is. And I can talk more about that in the other session if there's a desire to learn more about what they're trying to do. And I've listed a few of the steps there that they're taking to try to address their growth problems. One of the things we heard at Planning Commission is somebody talked about the fact that new construction is net positive in revenue to the county. And they cited this particular cost of community services study that was done last year. And if you actually go in and read that, and if you hadn't, I would certainly encourage you to do so. But that report's not covering all costs. If you look at that second bullet there, and this is a quote, does not include longer-term capital needs, deferred maintenance, and other future financial impacts related to growth and development in Hamilton County. I'm not a financial guy, but those sound like they could be big numbers. And so it seems to me we would want to look at the total picture to understand the true cost of to the taxpayers of when we have new development in the county. That's why some counties use impact fees. They recognize that with all the new infrastructure they need, that's a big burden on the existing taxpayers. And so they try to mitigate some of that cost to the taxpayers using those. And I recognize we're not allowed to use them here, but in some counties in Tennessee and certainly in other parts of the country, they utilize that mechanism to help out. So I think if you went in and looked at all the costs, you might question whether that statement about that the new construction is net positive is accurate.
Thank you, Greg. Let me wrap it up. What I'd like to talk about now is there has been a lot of numbers thrown around about what's the future look like for the county. And a couple of those numbers are that there's a need for 46,000 additional housing units in the county. And that came from a June 7th, 2023 RCLCO report. And that was the foundation for the planned development. Unfortunately, when you really dig into the data, it appears that the 46,000 housing units is actually for a 6-county area, our county and 5 counties south of us. And if you break down what the impact to our county is, it's probably only about 20,000 housing units. So this number of 46,000 sets a pretty high bar. And we don't think that bar needs to be set. The report really doesn't indicate it needs to be set that high. So where we think it's been a little exaggerated. We think the study's been based on a growth for the county that's not really as high and as drastic as it seems. And one of the things that we think should happen in our plan was really focused on kind of slowing down the growth. It's a 5-year plan. And we hope that plan gives the commission an opportunity to take some time and work on some of the infrastructure that needs to be dealt with. So our position, just to be clear, we respectfully request that when it comes time to vote on the plan, that Area 9 and all the other plans should be approved by the commission. We also respectfully request that we should not approve the home builders amendments at this time. The compromise plan provided a plan for reasonable growth in the county. And I think based on some of the numbers where you really look at the growth, we think it's a reasonable plan. And I think it gives you guys an opportunity to have some breathing room and work towards some of the infrastructure issues. And again, one of the primary issues from our citizens was that they really want to retain the rural character of the county, and we think our plan pretty much does. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate it.
Okay, we had some questions up here for you guys. Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, can you go back to the slide that does comparison with the other counties, please? I just wanted a chance to look at this a little more in depth. Can you expound a little bit on this slide, please?
Sure. So those are the top 10 counties in Tennessee as far as growth goes over a 4-year period from the Census Bureau. And we didn't look at percent of growth. We looked at the total number of new people coming into the county. We thought that made the most sense because that's what drives development is actual people, not percentages. So those are the top 10. And then we went through and tried to look in each of those counties and their zoning regulations and stuff, trying to find what compares to RA1. Again, they don't use those labels, but we were just trying to make as close to an apples to apples comparison as we could. And as we went through there, we found that most of them have lower, or all of them have lower density than we do. We actually looked at some other counties just to kind of check that. They're not really what I would consider our peer counties, but because they're smaller or they're in a completely different part of the state or whatever. But we found the same, we found the same kind of trends is we didn't find anybody that had more than Hamilton County. I think we ended up looking at a total of like 35 different counties or something like that. So we just wanted to share that information with you guys.
Okay, and you say the source is the U.S. Census Bureau is, what's the other source? I mean, per county, how did you, which?
The data on the actual counties
Yeah.
as far as population or as far as their zoning?
Zoning.
The zoning, we just went to each county's website. Some are better than others, and actually looked through their zoning regulations to come up with what their density is allowed in each of those zones.
Okay, so the other source would be each county's website.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, Commissioner Highlander.
Thank you. Gentlemen and the ladies that worked, you put a lot of work into this, I know, over several months. Originally, I'd like the public to know that you have made some compromises, the original plan. I know you originally wanted no changes in the plan except annually. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And a lot of people thought that it needed to stay at least for a year, but you thought that it would be, a compromise would be go to 6 months from a year.
That's correct, yeah.
So, okay. And you've done quite a bit of other, of research. I cannot believe the amount of research that you've done. And several of us as commissioners went and sat in on meetings. We did not participate, but we listened. And I appreciate your body of work and the many hours that you spent trying to make this a fair situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Mackey.
Thank you, Chair. Gentlemen, appreciate your efforts to compromise. Couple of questions. That concept of NIMBY, not in my backyard, do you find that at all in this community?
Yeah. Sure.
So you want growth every place but in your backyard? The county is going to grow,
Right. We understand that.
but you don't want it. And I would anticipate the commissioners here who represent you, they're going to support you, even though they may know better. I'll be the first to tell you, I've taken a lot of heat willingly because I want to see growth and jobs and my opportunity come to this community. You made reference to the home builders. But you say you oppose them, but you didn't say why. Can you tell me?
Well, I think, again, what we were looking to do in our county, in our portion of the county, was to allow growth based on the existing zoning of A2. Where we differ with the home builders is they have come in since then and asked to change all of the A1 zoning from 2 houses to 3. And what that does for us is it just increases the growth, and we understand that there needs to be growth, but we're trying to slow it down so that it's not as drastic and let the infrastructure catch up.
Do you know of any place in Tennessee where they put the infrastructure in first before they allow the people to come in?
No, I don't know.
So the people are the ones who drive the growth and the investments in that neighborhood.
Probably correct, yeah.
A moment ago, you showed a slide and it compared us to other counties, and by your own admission, they're not the same kind of counties we are. They're more rural. And would you think that to be a fair comparison?
Sir, I mean, if you look at them, you know, the closest peers we have as far as population size are Knox County, Rutherford County, and Williamson County. Of course, Knox County's Knoxville, and the other two are in the greater Nashville area. So we were trying to focus on population by you know, the number of people in each county. And I want to add on to something Don said. So we understand growth is coming and we're okay with that. All we're asking is that we keep the density what it is right now and don't increase the density. I mean, when you look at what 2 houses an acre is, you know, that, and that's where I live, but, you know, I don't consider that farmland and pasture land. I mean, it's 2 houses an acre. It's fairly dense. I realize it's not downtown, but it's a fairly dense number. And as we look through what the plan stated that the other counties were doing, you are seeing some of those counties that, you know, I mean, Knox County in particular, and Williamson County, you know, they have plans to slow their growth. They're slowing down, allowing as many, you know, zoning changes and stuff. As a matter of fact, Williamson County, when I talked to the planner up there, it's a very interesting conversation. The zoning map that they have on their website is 4 years old. And so I asked him, I said, well, I might want to use that in a presentation, but it's 4 years old. Can you get me a more recent one? And he said, well, we can probably find one, but it'll look about like the one you see on the website, because he said, we have moved to a model where we rarely rezone property. And that puzzled me. And I said, because I know they're growing faster than Hamilton County by number of people. And so I followed up with a question and I asked him, I said, so how do you handle a situation where you have, say, a 50-acre farm out somewhere and a developer purchases it and wants to build a neighborhood in there, and it's zoned, you know, rural? And his reply to me, and this is a quote, "We don't do that." So they're taking pretty aggressive measures to try to slow growth, and I think it's because they've been slammed.
Yeah.
I mean, they just can't keep up.
Mr. Chairman, I got 1 or 2 more questions, please. Okay. Housing. I think you implied that we don't have that we have a pretty substantial housing availability to where the numbers that you see didn't really reflect the need that seems to be out there.
No, let me clarify that.
Okay.
What we're seeing is a report that was produced by the realtors, RCLCO, in June, and it forecasted out to 2040. And the 2040 forecast was that we needed 46,000 more homes. That actually covered a larger area than just Hamilton County. And what we've seen is it appears that forecast was exaggerated because people thought it was just for the county. So when we dissected the numbers, it was less. There's still growth. But
Right.
It wasn't nearly as significant as what they
So you and I, we listen and we hear that housing prices are skyrocketing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, my house is significantly more valuable now too.
So does it seem to be a situation of supply and demand, that because we've got industry and companies coming in, people want to live here but can't afford to because of housing?
I don't know. That could be. I'm missing your point. I'm sorry.
Take my district. There's a concept all of us have heard before: gentrification. People are coming in, they want to move and live in accessible areas. And by the way, have you noticed the streets downtown, many of them have been converted to one lane?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of having the infrastructure, when that take place, does it kind of put Chattanooga in the same kind of situation that the outlying areas who say they have traffic
Sure.
problems?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Beck?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did hear a statement made about compromise. And then I hear you say you would recommend we not take the home builders amendments. Mr. Mr. Chairman, do you think we need to hear what the amendments are from the home builders? Or is this the right time?
We actually will have that in zoning later because the Plan Hamilton is on today's agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Commissioner Sharp?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Lewis, I'd like to thank you, one, for your calm, respectful demeanor. I know this is.
the outside, sir.
I can appreciate that. I know this is a sensitive or personal topic to a lot of people. I appreciate that. And I thank you for maintaining. It's difficult at times. I share that with you.
40 years in industry with labor unions, you have to learn how to.
For sure. I also appreciate your service to your community. I think it's important that we all, try to work together with our neighbors to, make this a better place for us all to live. That's one of the reasons why I'm here today, and I appreciate that from the two of you and the others that participated in this process. I think we all have certain things that we want to see in our communities, different ways that we conduct our lives daily. And I appreciate concerns about, growing pains, for lack of a better term. We're certainly experiencing some of that here in Hamilton County. I know, we talk about, as I listen, I hear a lot of conversation about letting infrastructure catch up. We don't have any plans announced as to how to go about doing that in Hamilton County. Where's the revenue coming from? These are things that need to be a part of this conversation that we've not addressed. I can't really put my finger on why or where that needs to occur. I'm happy to take part in that. I know I've said that before. One of the other things that I see or hear is that, a group of citizens, they want to maintain the rural and agrarian character of their communities. I think that's fair, right? And then that they want their taxes to stay low. And sometimes those things are difficult to balance. If we have 46,000 or 20,000 new homes, we have a need for that number of homes in our community. One of the things that comes to my mind is, well, if we're building 20,000 new homes at 1 home an acre, we need 20,000 acres to build those homes. But if we need 20,000 homes at 5 an acre, somebody do the math for me real quick. It's a lot less land that's going to be occupied, right? And if the density is higher, it enables us to further preserve that rural and agrarian character in a community. So a lot of folks say there's more than one way to skin a cat. Maybe that's not the right term to use here, but there's a couple ways to look at this. And, I know that we struggle in Hamilton County and have for a long time to, pay for wastewater infrastructure, roads and schools. A stretch of road costs the same amount to maintain, whether there's 1 house on it or 10 houses on it, right? Just when there's 10 houses on it, there's 10 more people, there's 10 people paying for it, as opposed to that one family paying for it. So these are all things that we've got to balance. And I'm sure all of you know, advocated for density because of those arguments. But it seems that we're going in the opposite direction. And when we're going in the opposite direction and then refusing to address the conversation about how we're going to pay for all of this, I think that's a recipe for disaster in our community.
So like, I hear you, right? I sympathize with you. I empathize with you, right? We experience those things in my district too. I'm not out in Area 9. You know, in my district, the conversations are about, you know, not 2 or 5 units an acre. It's about, you know, 40 units an acre, right? And that change still happens. But the underlying principles are still the same. You know, the more units per acre, the less cost for the infrastructure. We have to, you know, there are some pains that come along with it. So I just want you all to know, like, I hear you. I don't know that I'm going to agree with you. But it's not because I want you to not get what you want. It's that we have a much bigger picture that we have to address in this county. And I'm not sure that this argument supports this county addressing the far-reaching goals that we have across the board with all the various issues that we have to deal with. So thank you. I just wanted to say that. And Chairman, thank you for the time.
Okay. I'd just remind the commissioners that this is on the agenda in the zoning piece later. So there's going to be more time because you'll have, I guess, the Commissioner Chauncey, there's going to be pretty much open. Is that correct? And so there'll be time.
That's correct, Chairman. So whenever we start zoning, we've got a few items to knock out before we get to Plan Hamilton. I think we'll just kind of go through those like we normally do. And then whenever we get to the final resolution for Plan Hamilton, we'll just discuss and determine what we all feel is fair. As far as, I think we've got a balanced opposition and favorability here. So I think we could probably cut it in half and make sure everyone's treated fairly and everyone has ample time to speak during the zoning. But I do thank Commissioner Mackey, thank you, Commissioner Sharp, and Commissioner Beck for keeping that sentiment, because we will have a chance to reiterate what was just said. Thank you.
Okay. So Commissioner Helton, did you want to add something now instead of later?
Question, yes, sir.
Okay.
On that table that Commissioner Baker spoke of, when I attended your meetings, I think Hamilton County is still 78.5% A1. And I was wondering, since we're trying to do apples to apples, do you have what percentage of the land mass of these other counties? Excuse me, gentlemen.
Yeah. So I guess we can speak, right?
Yeah.
I was just curious about the percentage of the land mass for the other counties, if we're trying to make apples to apples comparisons.
Right, sure. I didn't memorize them, so I can't reel all of them off on the top of my head. I will tell you, Williamson County is somewhere in the ballpark of 70%. Yeah. Something like that. Knox is, I'm trying to think back at the maps. Knox is probably, this is an educated guess. I'm happy to do more work and let you know the official answer, but something along probably 50%, something like that.
Okay.
And Rutherford County is probably about like Knox in that 50-ish%.
Okay. All right. And then to answer Commissioner Mackey's question, you were talking about communities that lay infrastructure first. When I was in college, Rutherford County did a massive infrastructure push ahead of development. Laid the roads, big 5 lanes through cow pastures. They pulled the sewer. And we spoke of this at another meeting several months ago. But when I was born, Rutherford County had 77,000 people. At that time, we had about 280,000. I would say that's an example of unintended consequences, right? They have Nashville as a driver, but they did exactly what everybody's saying they want to see. But now they have a population, I think, slightly larger than ours. So, if you build it, they will come. And I would ask, if we do undertake a large infrastructure project, systematically doing this, these same groups who are saying, don't build until we do the infrastructure. If we as a county are going to undertake that burden, the time, the effort, are these groups going to come back here and then advocate for density and construction? Or is it going to be the same argument? Is this a red herring? Build infrastructure before you develop, and then we'll be okay with it. Then if we do it, is it going to be the same story? It'll be something different at that point. Just curious, not really arguing one way or another. I think y'all know where I'm at. I want somewhere in between where you're at and where the home builders are. I think if everybody leaves a little hurt, then we've probably struck a good deal. But just a question to ponder on.
And we appreciate you.
Yes,
You
sir.
actually helped us with the current compromise to do that. And I think there's still room for compromise. We certainly see that, but we haven't had the opportunity to do it yet.
Okay, got a couple more lights here. Is this for now, or do you want to wait till this comes up in zoning, Commissioner Highlander?
Very, very briefly, comment on something that said. The infrastructure, I was told when I came on commission that infrastructure always follows development, and I've not seen it follow very closely yet. I hope it does. I will say this, and I made that statement several times, and the mayor came and gave us an opportunity to have an unincorporated roads commission or committee. And we've dedicated each year 5.8 million the last 2 years, plus some extra money that have come up. The problem that I taught several years at Red Bank High School, and when Morrison Springs Road had a wreck, it was really bad. Things backed up. But there were 20 or 30 small streets I could move around to get around that wreck. Out in our area, not just Harrison and Ooltewah and Birchwood, but also Sail Creek and Signal Mountain, there are not outlet roads that there are in other areas. You go on Hunter Road has been rated 9 times more dangerous than any other road of its size in the county. Yeah, but it's just one of many. When you have curving roads, no shoulders, deep ditches, and not enough right of way to widen without taking people's land and taking their front yard or their house, it's really difficult to do and very expensive to do. And it's also, I think about my grandchildren driving on some of those roads, and it frightens me. I mean, it leads me to prayer at night when I think about my grandkids driving on some of the roads that we're on. Our infrastructure needs are quite different than those. I lived in the county. I've lived in the city. I went to Avondale. I started at Harrison Elementary. I finished at Avondale Elementary. The city and the county have greatly different infrastructure needs. And the schools where we are, I'm thankful that my friends in Sail Creek have North Hamilton County and Signal Middle High on the far end of the county. Those are great schools and great opportunities. Some of my people are very similar, go 25 miles. They have to ride 25 miles to get to a school. And so there are going to be some infrastructure needs as growth comes. We need to realize we're going to have tremendous, tremendous costs. But thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Mackey, do you have something real quick?
30 seconds, Chair, simply because my name was called. When I was in Murfreesboro, when I lived there, 2 high schools, 11,000 students at the university, 31,000 people in the county. They are now at 15 high schools. And a lot of that had to do with the citizenry, just like the ones we have here. They contributed to planning what Murfreesboro would look like. But I do want to tell you, man, your neighbors and everyone, we appreciate, I truly appreciate your comments. I simply have a different approach. I feel homeowners and property owners, if they're not violating the law, they ought to be able to do what they want to with their property. It's that simple. I believe in freedom. I believe in small government. I don't want government trying to tell you what to do. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Baker, do you have something for 30 seconds?
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone when I set that meeting probably 2 months ago with home builders and realtors and us and WWTA. Currently, we have $500 million in needs for sewers and $150 million in roads. And I have yet to see a plan for that. And I think that's incumbent upon us, upon our administration here and us, to come up with a plan that deals with that, because that's, you know, I agree with Commissioner Highlander. When I was in County Commission 101, they said, oh, don't worry, the roads will follow. They don't. So we need to come up with a plan. That's incumbent upon us and the money that it takes.
Okay, see no more lights. One thing I want to add real quick, and then we'll move on, is there's, Ms. Johnson, there's 5,000 more homes that's already been approved for that area that's yet to be built. Is that correct?
Currently 5,000, a little over 5,000 in our area of Hamilton County.
So this will not impact that. This is for,
They're done, they're approved and ready to go.
it's not even started construction yet.
Nope.
Okay. And then, second, and finish, thank you. Thank you so much. Second thing is Mr. Baker brings up a good point that I brought up several times, and that is, while we're looking at taking money that we're not spending this year, why aren't we putting it into a road fund? Why aren't we increasing that in these areas that's been aggressively, had this aggressive growth? Why aren't we taking every nickel penny that we can to put in that instead of just giving it away? Those would be things that would be just kind of my thought that's kind of run through my mind. So even as we look at money that's left over from this year's budget that doesn't get spent, we know we got a problem, so why wouldn't we look at that in the future? So, so that's just a general comment. So, Mayor, do you want to?
Well, I should give a quick bit of context that when we get later in the meeting, Nathan Janeway could address. I'd say one of the challenges that we're going to have in designing and then taking into engineering and construction the road projects that this commission has funded, that our administration has proposed over the last 2 years, which is unprecedented numbers of capital improvement roads projects. It's going to be very hard for the county to design and implement this volume of projects as it is. We're trying to hire engineers currently. That's very difficult. And so I would just say, you know, it's a bit analogous to school projects. We are trying right now to manage, in partnership with the school system, more school projects than we ever have at the same time. And so the public should know that we are not only taking action on roads projects, but we're doing so in a manner that the county has, that stresses our manpower and ability to project manage them. So I agree wholeheartedly that we need to identify recurring, sustainable funding sources for infrastructure. We certainly all have been in conversations with our partners in state government, who are really good partners. The W Road and other roads in our county are being maintained with support from the state. But currently, the projects that we anticipate designing and implementing over the next couple of years are going to be very difficult for us to staff as it is.
Okay, so thank you for the presentation. We will move forward. Madam Clerk, we'll be looking at entering minutes for the recess meeting for May the 28th, 2025, the agenda session, May 28th, 2025, and the regular meeting of June the 4th, 2025. We'll also be looking at entering one report into the record next week. With that, we will go into resolutions. We will begin with Resolution 625-8. So Madam Clerk, recap.
Resolution 625-8, a resolution to approve and accept applications for notary public positions and the bonds and oaths of notaries previously elected.
Okay, see no lights, no one standing for general comment, so we'll take this up next week. 625-9.
Resolution 625-9, a resolution approving the purchase of 3 motor vehicle license plate renewal kiosks amounting to $55,500 for the county clerk's office and authorizing the county clerk to sign any documents necessary to implement this resolution.
Okay, see no lights, no one standing for comment. We'll take this up next week. 625-10.
Resolution 625-10, a resolution making an appropriation to Signal Mountain Middle High School in the amount of $3,501.02 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 2.
Okay, Commissioner Highland, do you have a comment?
Just a very brief comment. Several people have mentioned to me, we have all these discretionary funds. These are our expense travel monies. that if we have money that we don't spend at the end of the year, we can use it back in the grant. Is that correct, Chairman?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear to the county residents that these are not just pure discretionary monies. They're leftover expense monies that we have not used for that year. Thank you.
All right, see no more lights, no one standing. We'll take this up next week, 62511.
Resolution 625-11, a resolution making an appropriation to Udoa High School in the amount of $3,000 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 10.
See no lights, no one standing for comment. We'll take this up next week, 625-12.
Resolution 625-12, a resolution making an appropriation to East Hamilton Youth Association in the amount of $845.85 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 7.
Okay, see no lights, no one standing for comment. We'll take this up next week, 625-13.
Resolution 625-13, a resolution approving the expenditure of funds in the amount of $40,000 to Hamilton County Schools for purchase and installation of a digital sign at Hardy Elementary School with a portion of funding for the project from discretionary bond funds as allotted to District 4, general fund discretionary funds as allotted to District 4, and general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 4.
Okay, see no lights for comments, see no one standing. We'll take this up next week, 625-14.
Resolution 625-14, a resolution making appropriations to Alpine Crest Elementary School in the amount of $1,181.06, to Rivermont Elementary School in the amount of $1,181.06, to Chattanooga High School Center for Creative Arts in the amount of $1,181.06, to Normal Park Museum Magnet Lower in the amount of $1,181.06, to Normal Park Museum Magnet Upper in the amount of $1,181.06, to Red Bank Middle School in the amount of $1,181.06, and to Red Bank High School in the amount of $1,181.05 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 6.
Okay, see you shorted Red Bank High School by 1 penny there. Commissioner Sharp.
Yes, Principal Tillett's going to hold me to that cent. So I'll make sure to pull that one out of my pocket. Right.
Okay, see no more lights, no one standing for general comment. We'll take this up next week. Madam Clerk, we're going to bundle 625-15 and 625-16. $625.15 and $625.16.
Resolution 625-15, a resolution making appropriations to East Ridge Needy Child Fund in the amount of $1,000, to East Ridge Animal Shelter in the amount of $1,000, and to East Ridge Community Food Pantry in the amount of $1,000 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 8. Resolution 625-16, a resolution making an appropriation to Spring Creek Elementary School in the amount of $3,000 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 8.
Okay. So no lights on, no one standing for comment. We'll take this up next week. We'll move to 625-17 and 625-18. We'll bundle those two.
Resolution 625-17, a resolution making appropriation to Net Resource Foundation in the amount of $7,380.02, to La Paz DDOs in the amount of $1,000, to Alton Park Development Corporation in the amount of $1,000, and to East Lake Neighborhood Association in the amount of $1,000 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 11. Resolution 625-18, a resolution making appropriations to Lookout Valley Elementary School in the amount of $1,000 and to Lookout Valley Middle High School in the amount of $1,000 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 11.
Okay. See no lights, no one standing for comment. We'll take these up next week. 625-19 was originally signed to legal committee and got changed yesterday afternoon, so we're going to keep it legal committee. So legal committee that will cover this with the committees. So directly after this, after a meeting, So sometime tomorrow, no, sometime after the meeting, we'll cover this, so. All right, 62520, 62521, if we'll bundle those.
Resolution 625-20, a resolution making appropriations to Hamilton County Schools Funds for Excellence in the amount of $1,780.11, to Snow Hill Recreation League, Inc. in the amount of $1,000, to Hamilton County Stars in the amount of $1,000, and to Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department in the amount of $1,000 from General Fund Travel Discretionary Monies as allotted to District 9. Resolution 625-21, a resolution making appropriations to Brown Middle School in the amount of $1,000, to Central High School in the amount of $1,000, to Hunter Middle School in the amount of $1,000, to Ottawa High School in the amount of $1,000, to Harrison Elementary School in the amount of $1,000, Wallace A. Smith Elementary School in the amount of $1,000, Ottawa Elementary School in the amount of $1,000, and to Snow Hill Elementary School in the amount of $1,000 from General Fund Travel Discretionary Monies as allotted to District 9.
Okay, see no lights, no one standing for comment. We'll take these up next week. We'll move to 62522, 62523, 62524, and 62525. You'll bundle those. Sorry.
Resolution 625-22, a resolution approving the expenditure of funds in the amount of $625.04 to Loftus Middle School for an audio and lighting system upgrade with a portion of funding from the project from discretionary bond funds and the remainder from general fund discretionary funds as allotted to District 3. Resolution 625-23, a resolution making appropriations to Hickson Middle School in the amount of $3,000 and to Loftus Middle School in the amount of $2,374.96 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 3. Resolution 625-24, a resolution making an appropriation to Charles H. Coolidge National Medal of Honor Heritage Center in the amount of $3,000 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 3. Resolution 625-25, a resolution making an appropriation to Hickson High School Alumni Association in the amount of $2,442.44 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 3.
But you're going to be quiet this afternoon. Thank you. See no lights, no one standing. We'll take these up next week. That completes the committee as a whole. We do have some committee assignments, and what I would prefer is we've got 3 ones. So we've got legal committee's got 1, delinquent taxes got 1, Commissioner Mackey, and building economics, Commissioner Helton's got 1. If we can do those in sequence right after this, the meeting, then we can go into finance. It's got 22 resolutions, and then we've got roads and zoning. It's got 9 resolutions. So then we'll do those 2 after the single one. So those will be immediately following. We'll start with the legal committee first, and then go to delinquent tax, and then go to building economics. And those will immediately after this meeting. With that, we'll move into announcements. Mr. Shipley?
No announcement.
Commissioner Baker?
No announcements.
Commissioner Smith?
Let me just, I'm sorry. Just, we have a meeting with the, on the 17th at 6 o'clock at Walden's Ridge Emergency Services to talk about Plan Hamilton. There we go. Thank you. Sorry.
Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Mackey?
Thank you, Chair. Just one quick statement. It is a joy to see so many people in this room this morning. They get a chance to see how government works, and they see that their representatives are concerned about their plight, trying to just do the best job they can. And while there is not necessarily 100% agreement, there is a major effort to work together and come to a compromise. And I truly appreciate seeing that. Thank you.
Sir? Commissioner Beck?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last Saturday, I had the privilege of attending a very fine retirement party for our present county attorney. And without saying a whole lot about what happened, there. There were a lot of people there. It was standing room only. And it was a great turnout for a great person. And there was a person looking at me at my table, looking at the expression on my face while they were giving so many wonderful statements about our county attorney. And I was thinking about the institutional knowledge that we are going to be losing next month. I was thinking about all of the times that our county attorney kept me out of trouble with the things that I was about to say, things I was about to do up here. I was thinking about several things, and so somebody said, well, why do you have that look on your face? I said, well, I'm trying to keep from crying. I say, because we're losing a very fine person who has all of the knowledge of everything that happens up here and has happened up here for the last 30 some odd years. So I said I would save all of my comments about the county attorney until this day. And so we're going to lose a great person, but we're getting a great person. So I'm thankful for that as well. But Ruben has been a friend, has been a confidant. He has been serving a pastoral effort toward my life. He's been a very good friend of my family and a friend of this county. So we're going to miss you, brother. So thank you so very much for all of your years of service to this county and to the people of this county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I respond?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Beck and all the other commissioners. To correct one thing that Commissioner Beck said, it wasn't me. It was the staff in the county attorney's office that has worked so diligently over all those years to get us to where we can receive those accolades that you're giving to me. They really deserve them, and I appreciate the chairman allowing me next week to recognize the staff in the county attorney's office. So thank you all again for all the expressions. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Sharp?
No announcements, sir.
Commissioner Hilton? Commissioner Chauncey? Commissioner Highlander?
Thank you. Briefly, I also, to quote Dr. Mackey, I very much appreciate everyone who came, and actually both sides of the aisle. I appreciate the home builders and the realtors who've come, and I appreciate the people in communities who are standing up for their communities and trying to do what's best for them. I, along with Commissioner Beck and several other commissioners, were honored and privileged, I wanted to say briefly, to attend the retirement celebration for our attorney and Mr. Taylor. We very much appreciate the service that you've rendered to this county, and we look forward to seeing you enjoy your retirement. I know you'll still be practicing some law, but maybe you get a little more time on the golf links. But very much appreciate that. And I tell you what I want to say too, for Ms. Varnell, I'm going to pray for you and lift you up and look forward to hearing good advice from you. And you're our attorney as well as the mayor's, and we know that you will keep what we say confidential. You'll work with us and give us good advice. And anything that we can do to help you, we want to. But Mr. Taylor, enjoy that retirement, sir. God bless you. Thank you.
Commissioner Graham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There'll be a legal committee directly after this. I think we're going to squeeze that in before we go on to other stuff, at your recommendation. So,
Okay.
So there'll be a brief legal committee meeting directly after this. I too had the privilege and the honor of being invited to our county attorney Ruben's celebration of service Saturday. And as Commissioner Beck said it so elegantly and better than I can, Ruben's been a great friend to me in my political career, in my personal life. My children love you. My wife loves you. I think my children and my wife might like you a little better than they like me sometimes. But you're a wonderful man, a wonderful preacher, a wonderful attorney. I do love hearing you preach. You kind of pick on us Republicans a little bit, but I do like to hear you preach. But I love you, and you're a great man, and I look forward to your next adventures. And I know we'll have time to talk about this, so I don't want to belabor it. But and I also know that we're in good hands going forward. So, bittersweet. I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day. I know it's this Sunday. Everybody's happy, everybody in the audience, everybody here, happy Father's Day. I want to thank a group of volunteers. Twice a year, we put out crosses in Lookout Valley. We put out a little over 300 of them. It keeps growing, unfortunately. But we honor the veterans that have been involved with our community, whether they live there or was a family member that they live there. So twice a year, we put crosses out up and down Bryce Ferry Road from Cummins Highway all the way back to just about the freeway in both sides of the road. Kind of like what Ringo does or some other communities does, but it's kind of where we got the idea. But we've been doing it now for many years. Could not do it without the volunteers that show up. It's a lot of rebar to drive, and it's a lot of crosses to put out and pick up. So I want to thank all the volunteers. It took a whole morning one Saturday to put them out, took a whole morning one Saturday to pick them back up. And again, couldn't do it without the volunteers. And most importantly, yesterday, I've heard Commissioner Baker say he's outkicked his coverage with his wife. I have also outkicked my coverage. Yesterday, my wife and I celebrated 36 years of marriage. I think Richard Floyd used to say 3 of it was happy, but no, my 36 very happy years of marriage with my beautiful bride yesterday, and I know she's watching, so happy anniversary. I love you. Thank you, sir.
Anniversary. Commissioner Helton, do you have something to add?
This Saturday, we're going to have a Veterans Expo in East Brainerd at 1067 Graysville Road from 12 to 4. I invite any veteran throughout the county to come there. There's lots of services. The VA's there, and I think Hamilton County government will be represented there as well. And then the following weekend, we have a Friends of Appleton and East Brainerd meeting, breakfast. This month we'll have Senator Gardenhire and Representative Helton. They'll give us kind of a legislative rundown on what happened in Nashville, and we'll enjoy a nice breakfast together. Thank you.
Mr. Baker, do you have something to add?
Yeah, just brief. So Commissioner Gray mentioned my wife. By the way, she just came back from seeing our daughter in Miami on Spirit and said it was a great trip. So highly recommend taking Spirit. New service from the airport. But Ruben, had I been invited to speak at your retirement, I would have told the story of 3 years ago when my son wanted to get married. And he asked me to do the marriage, and I go, I don't know if I can do this. And then I called Ruben. He goes, yeah, you can. I said, Ruben, you're a minister. Can you send me the vows? And he did. And it was probably the coolest thing I've ever done in my life, was being able to officiate my son's wedding. And I have you to thank for that. So thank you.
So far, so good.
Attorney Taylor, do you have anything for us? Mayor Wamp. All right. Couple of things. The school board hearing will be after everything. So I think we've got a pretty full agenda today. So it'll be after we get finished with all the committees. Do appreciate seeing Dr. Robertson here this morning. Do appreciate being here this morning. If there's any questions that relate to any of the budgets that deal with the schools, keep in mind that during a hearing, it's the commission and school only. So if you've got any comments you want to make, you can do so at the public portion, which is about to begin, or you can do so during the budget part of the committee hearing. So there's 2 different spots you'll be able to be able to make general comments. Okay. With that said, we'll move to the public portion. Anyone that has any business like to bring forward, your name and address, anything except for zoning, you'll have 3 minutes, and time will begin when you start with your name and address.
Peterson, I live at 1019 Central Drive, Hickson, Tennessee, and I'd like to talk about the school. It's my understanding a number of years ago, the state changed about the money that the schools get. And my understanding, the central office increase their employees, like between 400 and 600 new people working for them. And to me, there's something wrong with the law. It's to me, I took at it and say if they make 50,000 a year with benefits and salary and that, the schools would have an extra 20 to 30 million dollars per year to repair their buildings or build new ones. And I'd rather see them do that instead of having our tax dollars have to pay for that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Next, start with your name and address. You get 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Mighty Bell, the homeless journalist, the gray-haired fox, man with the $1 trillion voice. Been away, and again, let me say, panel of men, I've missed you. Not thinking I would ever say that, but it's good to be back. It's good to be able to speak to people who are making decisions in my life and those of people who I love and care about. Last time I was here, I was censored. That was a violation of my constitutional rights. And it's been a continual process. I've been away since my books were stolen, and I haven't been able to get redress. I went to see and to look at what it's going to look like with my new book. They're saying things like Monty Dwayne Bell, pro se litigant, is in the news. But finding the single best phrase to describe this particular Black man who describes himself as the self-proclaimed homeless journalist and the gray-haired fox, the man with the $1 trillion voice. It's subject, and it depends on the specific content and desired emphasis. I've got 211 billion, 34 million that I've been seeking since you all have been up here, some of you for quite some time. I've never seen the light of day of the courts. I'm so embarrassed and ashamed of my city, county, and state for using me as a prop to fight in the streets as though I'm some stud, thug, and tramp. I'm very disappointed in the leadership that I've had to endure. For many years, traveling abroad, it's very important to have a home base. But because of the leadership here, I've never been able to say out loud that I'm from the city of Chattanooga, the county of Hamilton, the state of Tennessee. Because of the enduring conflicts of racial discrimination. Let me go a little further what they're writing about when it comes to the courts and the judicial system in the 37 seconds that I've got. A judge denying indigent pro se litigants access to civil court proceedings is a direct violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment and the Due Process Clause. Due process, equal protection of the laws. No one in this country should ever have to fight for those two rights. It's not a privilege. It's a right. Last 3 seconds, the Constitution was written on rights and not privileges. 211 billion, 34 million for fraud.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Anyone else? General comments? Okay. With no other business, we're adjourned till June the 18th at 9:30 a.m. We'll start with our first committee meeting and at Commissioner Graham. We'll start with the legal committee.